All right. We have MC Stretch with us tonight on the podcast. And
Take 107.
of course, I'm absolutely intimidated. It's very scary to have MC Stretch, who's the king of the party, king of the mics, with me on the podcast. And I'm just like a newbie who's doing this. But thank you so much, Stretch, for doing this for me.
You're very welcome, sir.
There's a nice backstory. I actually approached his manager, Alvin, who's a good friend of mine who I met last time when you were around. I was like, bro, is it possible? Can I get Stretch on the podcast? And he obviously didn't reply immediately. And just as a fly, I said, let me just directly DM, Stretch. Let's see if he just responds at least. And I said, hey, this is Rohan and stuff like this. Would you like to be a part of this podcast? And he was like, yeah, bro, let's do it. On Monday, I'm free after the festival. And let's do it. And I'm here. And I think about half an hour later, Alvin tells me, okay, you already got this figured out, right? Yeah. I was like, wow. So thank you for being so approachable. It's awesome having you on the podcast.
Happy to talk.
Want to know a bit of your story? How did it start? How long have you been in the entire industry, in the scene?
Professionally now, 30 years.
Okay.
Some shape or form, from DJ to party promoter to, everything to do with the rave scene.
All right.
And basically, I started as an MC to keep other MCs off the microphones.
Okay.
And that was for a guy called Hermit, DJ Hermit. That was at the beginning of the UK garage scene.
All right.
And I kind of became the MC that didn't talk a lot.
That's a skill in itself, right?
Very much so. And it kind of just ran from there and winged it and blagged it, working for numerous companies. And then eventually, while I was hosting for a festival in Holland called Lowlands, it was 2002.
Okay.
Who was on the lineup that day? Timo Maas was there, Darren Emerson was there, and this guy called Tiesto. And I did this set with Tice. It was a big thing.
Okay.
It was huge for Lowlands to have him there. And I was just accidentally there hosting. And we had a great time in his set, during his set. It's actually online, so people can find it. Lowlands, Tiesto 2002. You can hear what the vibe was like there. From there, his management approached me and said, look, we're planning on doing a Tiesto in concert, football stadium, 25,000 people, one DJ all night long. Are you interested? I said, yes, I'm very, very interested.
How can you refuse that, though?
Exactly, And then, Tiesto made me famous in that way by the Tiesto in concert situations. And the rest is history. The rest is history. And I'm still writing history, so it's all good.
So what is your first clubbing experience? What is your first raving experience? How old were you?
I was 14.
Okay. And was it like a normal...
No, it was a blues. It was a reggae.
Okay.
Reggae dance. And then, we used to have school discos, of course.
Okay.
And I always
that's where exactly is this? Which town is this happening?
London.
In London.
It's London.
Okay.
And, when I was in the sixth form, I DJ'd at our own school disco. And so I was always interested in music anyway.
Right.
But then my first real rave was when I was 16. And I went to stay at a friend's house. And it was all devised because he said, you have to go to a party. And I'm like, well, let's ask my parents if I can stay at your house. And he's like, yeah, cool. So I ended up staying at his parents and then wandering down to the bottom of his road, and this is in South Tottenham.
Okay.
And then going downstairs into a basement, strobe, smoke, repetitive beats. It wasn't even house music then, it was repetitive beats.
Okay.
And for most of the night, all I could see was smoke and shadows and my hand just in front of my face.
Okay.
It was one of the most intense nights of my life. Drug-free, no alcohol, none of that.
Okay.
And came out of there and went, I want to do this. I want to get involved in this. And then, so then we started rolling, just trying to be a DJ was like, okay, I want to be a DJ. Became a DJ, started doing parties, house parties. And
so if you could just tell us about the house party culture, because that's what happens mostly in Europe. We don't really have a culture.
A house party literally means house, a party in a house.
Okay.
That was where it came for us in London.
Okay.
The story goes that, the warehouse comes from Chicago.
Of course, yeah.
But for us, a house party was a party in somebody's house.
All right.
So I used to DJ in houses for people at their parties.
Okay.
And always used to smash it. Always used to have a great time. Carrying the vinyls around, and we always used to have the system. And of course, my mum treated me to Technic 1200 decks.
Okay.
For my 70th birthday. And of course, then I was on my firm. I was the one with the decks, so I was always. It's like anybody who rolls a joint.
Of course,
you get the first privilege to smoke it. Right?
Of course.
So
yeah.
the decks, you had the decks, so you got to let me play on the decks. And so then it just kind of went from there, and I've just been blagging it ever since.
First, you were a DJ, or were you an MC? How did it start initially? What was the first?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. You was a DJ and an MC. I was kind of influenced highly by reggae music, so the whole presentation of how reggae was presented was DJ MC, and the DJ was the MC, and the MC was the DJ.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it for me as well. That's still it for me.
Mm-hmm.
But because my voice is famous, I'm hired mostly as an MC, but I'm a much better DJ than I am an MC. So,
so deep down, there is a huge DJ in you. So are you going to be touring? Are you performing very often?
No, well, yes and no. I don't do clubs anymore with regards to how the music. I guess I hate the term EDM, but the way that the harder sounds and the DJs are talking all the time, working themselves up to the drop. It's not really suited for club music, I think. But I love a club setting, still do clubs if I'm called upon. But Tomorrowland is obviously my home from home. Mm-hmm. So we have Tomorrowland Winter next month for the second year. And then I'll be DJing on King's Night, which is the night before the bank holiday in Holland.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have something also on the daytime for the family. That's in April. And then the season starts, and then it'll be festival season all over again.
So what's your sound when you're playing? Is it house music, or what do you prefer?
Soulful house music.
Okay.
If you want to put it in the bracket.
I thoroughly enjoyed your set last year. I think you were playing an after party. It was awesome.
Zellep was there,
yes,
the warm up.
The first time I met you, it was awesome.
Anish took me to the Bollywood Bollywood Brewing Company.
Yes.
And said, "Come and play with me for the afters." And he knows I just loved it. It's my favourite place in the world, behind the decks. And anyway, we went in there, got straight on the decks, and half the people wanted to hear Bollywood music.
Of course.
And I'm like, do I look like I've got Bollywood music? So half the place left.
Okay.
But we still had a great time.
This is something which I was talking to my friends, and I really love and appreciate this about it, because behind the decks, and it took me about 5 minutes to just say hi to you, because you're so in your music. And I was like, he's enjoying himself. And he was like, let me introduce you to Martin. I was like, yeah, let him enjoy himself. And absolutely, it didn't matter if there's like one person or 10 people or 100 people. And that's something that we have to actually learn. And it's awesome. You can actually see, just by the way you're performing, how much you love house music, how much you love
It's all about the music. It's all about the music. And that's what I mean. I play music for myself, really.
Okay.
I'm selfish in that. Obviously, of course, if there is a big crowd and you sense and you can feel that, okay, maybe,
of course,
I'll play a classic here, or, you judge how the crowd is. But for that instance of the situation we was in, I was like, fuck it. This I mean, for the first half hour I played, it was all brand new music.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So,
You're always active. So since, like you said, you're mostly hired for being an MC. So do you still keep your music updated anytime you have your drive on?
Not as much as I would like.
Okay.
But, I have to balance out my living conditions. I can't spend as much money as I used to on music anymore. You can accumulate more music for less price, of course, than what it used to be.
Of course, yeah.
But there's just so much beautiful music out there. So much. I mean, even just here the weekend with the VH1 Supersonic, Mully, Caviar, Kampai, 10,000 Lines blows everybody away every time. But I mean, just these undiscovered artists who I've never heard of. Machine Gun Kelly, right? I'm ignorant to so much good music that from my original DJ days, I would want to play this stuff, but I can't. There's just too much of it now,
of course,
because of the internet. Before it was just go to the record shop, and the record shop would say, "Oh, have you heard this? Or have you heard this? Or have you heard this?"
So, if you could just tell us, because we never really, at least from where we are from, we never really had these record shops as such. Of course, we had the Planet M's, where we used to just listen to the songs on the CD and eventually cover up money for one CD. It was very expensive for us back then. Tell us about how you used to accumulate music back then in your city. How was it? Because I'm pretty sure it was like a new thing, and there was a huge collector's thing. How did you save up money? How did you get the entire collection, Lord? And how was your music different from the others?
I didn't save money. Let's say, for instance, I got paid the £300 for the week.
Okay.
I'd go, have to give my mum some money. Make sure you do that if you're listening. Sons and brothers, and especially sons, give your mum some money if you're working. And maybe just think, okay, well, I've got to do this in the week, got to do this the week, got to do this the week. Right, I've got 60 quid over. I'll go in and buy something. And then I'd stand in the record shop practically all afternoon, being about 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 o'clock. Take a stack home, probably worth about 100 quid, and then come back and pay from the next week. So I paid them the next week for the records that I bought.
Okay, that was
But initially, you wouldn't. You'd pay for the records that you take the shop with, of course. But the shop owner used to know me, and say, like, just give me back next week if you don't want them. So it was kind of that. But then some weeks I'd end up spending 100, 200 quid because it's just some of this music just you can't let go because there wasn't a lot of it around at the time, and then you knew if you let this one go,
it's gone.
You know, in a couple of weeks, maybe a month later, everyone's going to be playing it. So it was always important to have the
records first.
So
what is your reference point? So like you said, like we have the internet right now. I know that this one's Defected Records' latest song is out and everyone has that song. Back then, what was your reference point? Because there was no internet. I think there was just the radio. So how do you know that this track or this record is the big thing? Was it the record owner?
You don't. You just
buy everything and figure it out yourself?
I think still DJs do it very much so in techno still. Somebody will send them a track.
Okay.
Let's say, for instance, somebody will send somebody a track. That DJ likes it and he runs it, he puts it in his set and he plays it exclusively wherever he plays. And of course now the internet, people want to know what the track list was if they've recorded a set.
Of course.
This unknown ID thing pops up.
Yeah.
People then start getting crazy for this track. So then what happens is that person who's been playing it will then probably eventually sign that track to their record label. Or not, and let it play the other way around, and then that other person will be known for the track that X played, and off it goes, you know what I mean? So it's all that. In theory, it's still in place, you know, because a lot of producers now are actually turning into DJs, so they play their own music. And of course, they're the only ones that have got it. So in theory, it's still in place. And with the online digital shops, you have a promo exclusive. So somebody will say to Traxsource, here, you can have that track for the month before every other online shop. So the only place you can buy that track for the first month of release is on Traxsource. So again, if you're not a shopper at Traxsource, you won't be able to get that track if you only shop at Beatport.
And what's your opinion right now? So now Beatport started Beatport Link. The future of dance music or the future of DJing right now is good internet and just probably streaming your tracks. You don't need to buy the tracks and you have access to everything and anything. So what's your opinion on that? Because now, you know, if someone asks you for a particular track and you can give an excuse saying, you know what, I don't have that record, I can't play it. So what do you do now? What's your opinion on this?
I don't take requests.
Of course. Especially when it's Bollywood.
I'll play that one for you tomorrow, mate. It's just one of those things, you know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not as dedicated to DJs as I should be. But it's simply because, you know, just like there's other things in life now. You know? But it's still my number one passion. Yeah.
All right. So tell us about Tomorrowland. How did that happen? How did that come across?
That's a good question. Everything came about off the Tiesto. Yeah. Working with Tiesto, everybody wanted to use my voice.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think Tomorrowland were another one of those people that was like, let's hire him. Because it was Tiesto, I was kind of associated then. I was supposed to be MC for trance.
Okay.
For some mad reason. You know, I didn't particularly like the fucking music. Still don't really, to be honest. It's not like I go out and rave to it either. But some of the stuff was amazing, of course.
Okay.
The area was, we had Above and Beyond, Armin Van Buuren, Marcus Schultz. Who else was there? There was a couple of other buds that we was in a tent.
Okay.
So this would have been 12 years ago. And then what happened, I was MCing for them, and then Armin was closing the main. And then Armin asked me to come and close the main stage with him. And then I've been on the main stage ever since. Tomorrowland wanted me on there.
Okay.
They put me in the tent. Then Armin said, come and host with me on the main stage. And then after that, then I was booked again, and then I was booked to host for the main stage. And I've been there ever since.
How does it feel to be MC Stretch?
I don't know. You'd have to ask someone else about that. I'm just me, man. I'm just, you know, I've found my place in life. I'm happy. Found my place in life. I think people should use me a lot more. I can be repetitive to some people, but, you know, I'm consistent in the message of, you know, stop the hate, spread the love, let's have a dance while we're doing it.
But what is the experience? How does it feel? How can you describe that feeling where you can't count the number of people and every year it keeps getting better?
Every kind of emotion you can believe, right? I mean, I was speaking to somebody the other night, you know, last summer, there's me standing with my favourite DJ, one of the best DJs of all time, Carl Cox, doing the daybreak sessions on probably the biggest, most beautiful stage in dance music at world-renowned Tomorrowland Festival, top of the fucking food chain, you know, and I got kind of emotional about myself, thinking like, well, you know, all the struggles of life that we all go through, you know, I'm a father, I've got children, I've got a mortgage, you know, I've got a day job, doesn't pay enough, we've got all these worries and troubles, and then it just all goes away. All of it goes away. You know what I mean? And I'm standing there with the big boss, being the big boss, having a whale of a time, seeing faces, people giving me waves and, you know, having a glass of champagne at 1:00 in the afternoon. you know, it's a little paradise in my life. Yeah, I feel home now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Talking about your family, you've got some beautiful kids. You've got beautiful twins.
Yes.
Most of you guys you don't know. Tell us about them, yeah?
Yeah. Maine and Neely. Yeah, they're going to be 8 this month. I don't know where the time's gone to, but yeah, they was at a birthday party, so there was motocrossing yesterday.
Okay.
Doing motocross. My wife sent me the films. It looked like they had a great time, so they probably want a motocross now for their birthdays, which they won't be able to get. But yeah, they're everything to me, man. Everything to me. It's a cliche what people say, you
of
know,
course, yeah.
life changes, but you know, even when I say look after the ladies and they will look after you, this planet we live on, and we haven't respected the feminine enough, and we don't respect the feminine enough, and that's where we've gone tragically wrong for thousands of years. You know, because there's one person you can trust in this world, 99 times out of 100, it's your mum. You know, so why can't we trust the women more and allow them much more responsibilities? And they should be running the world, mate.
Of course.
We wouldn't be at eternal wars if the women were running the gaff. I mean, you know, there's a few bitches out there, no doubt. But, you know, and of course now father of twin daughters, then, you know, I'm fighting for their space in the world to come.
What are they like? Do they know about your career? Do they
Yeah.
What do they say? What do they think?
They were worried for me leaving because somehow they found out about this coronavirus and they know about this. And I was saying, look, it's just scaremonger tactics, sweetie. You know, they're trying to. I didn't explain to her the whole. You know, it's not a conspiracy. I didn't explain to her the whole theory of why.
Okay.
But you know, I said, don't worry, darling. It's just another case of a bad flu, and people are just being scared by it. And Daddy's not going to China. I'm going to India. So he was going, okay, Daddy, you be careful. I said, okay, I will do. So, you know.
So, do they have any aspirations to join the industry, become DJs? Probably anything.
I've no idea.
Would you like them to be?
They can be whatever they want to be. They can be whatever they want to be. Neely's a very good footballer. And Main's a creative. She loves reading. So we'll see. Mum's a sporter, very creative.
Okay.
You know, I'm a sporter, very creative. So they'll be all right, I think, if they don't fall into the wrong kind of gangs and God knows what's to come.
Pretty scary, right? You know, to grow up twins and twin daughters. Because
they'll always have each other. That's the great thing. That's the great thing. You know what I mean? They might not like each other in certain times in their lives or whatever, but they will always have each other.
All right.
So that's the most important, knowing that, you know, when I'm gone, they'll have each other.
So I've been talking to you for a while now, and I can easily say that you really respect females, you respect the ladies, you really love your mum. I've been told that your mum had a nice nickname for you. If you could just tell us a bit about that story.
Ugly.
That's what she used to call you?
Ugly, yeah.
That's what she used to call you?
That's what she still calls me. She'd call me up and go, hello, ugly. Yeah, no, it was kind of like, in Dutch they say a roep name. And it was just, we used to do that as kids around where we used to live on our estate.
Okay.
And we just used to call out to each other, just strange names. And then, so my mum just heard someone calling it one day. So we used to sit out at the front of my mum's house.
Okay.
Back on the estate, just the wall, just hanging out. We used to play football there on a bit of grass. And then she'd open up the window to say she'd just made dinner or something. And then she'd be like, "Oi, ugly, come on, dinner." And just, you know, because everybody would then just have a laugh. But yeah, no, my mum's the best. Yeah, my mum's the best.
But didn't that scar you for life? Like when you're a kid, your mom's calling you ugly?
My parents are Irish.
Okay.
So it's all about taking the piss out of each other, not taking yourself too seriously. You know, you've always got to have the crack, as they say.
Okay, great. So you've been in Supersonic for, I think you're also hosting the Supersonic every year. It's been how many years since you've been on board with Supersonic?
I was trying to figure that out. I did 2 years in Goa. So was this the 4th year in Pune, right?
This was the 4th.
So 6 years I've been doing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's your inputs? Because obviously you've been at the Epitome, you've been at Tomorrowland, and where do you think we are in terms of our festival culture, our people, our music?
Oh, India should be so proud.
Yeah.
So proud. I mean, there's nothing's ever perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. So, you know, there's things that can be improved on.
And I want to actually hear more about what we can improve.
Production-wise,
okay.
I think they're where you need to be. I think they're where any major festival in the world should be. You know, the hospitality is second to none now. It gets better every year. You know, hopefully what Tomorrowland established, what Tomorrowland proved to me, is if you get the right team together,
okay,
everything is possible. And I think there's such a great team there now at Supersonic that hopefully, you know, Viacom can see the potential and keep it going for many, many years. Right. Keep me coming for many, many years.
You mentioned, I think, Kampai and a couple of other artists. Who do you think was the best, or who's the future of Indian music right now? whatever. It can be techno, it can be house, whatever is your preference.
Nitro Fun, he's doing some mad, excellent stuff with the sound that's now. But he's way ahead of the game already.
All right.
And he's flipping and changing and doing crazy stuff in his music, and I like it a lot. Caviar as well, she blew me away. She reminded me of the first time I heard Bjork. My memories become so bad. Don't drink alcohol, kids. But yeah, no, generally, you know, I was really impressed all round. And yeah, India's got an amazing array of talent.
Okay.
And with festivals like Supersonic, you know, there should be more focus on that. And this year there was tremendously. And I think it could arguably be one of the best they've ever had. But I'll be interested to see how it all turns out in the next couple of weeks with attendees and how many people attended and, you know, how everything was. Okay. Yeah, I'm really interested to hear how everything went.
So since you've been traveling all across the world, what do you think is something that we need as Indian artists? So I DJ myself. Where do you think we lack as artists in India on a global level? I'm pretty sure we're all doing good for ourselves in India, in our own states and respective cities. Where do you think as DJs as a whole in India, where do you think we lack? Because obviously you've seen everyone and anyone perform, from the newbies to the legends. So where do you think we lack?
I would have no idea, but I don't think you're lacking anywhere. I think India's just big enough for people to succeed. Divine.
Yeah.
That was the other cat. For instance, like Divine. You know, there's rapping in your own language. You have to do that. Americans are doing it in America. Let the Americans do that. You do your own shit. And Divine's flow in Hindi is dope.
It's amazing.
It is fat. It's amazing. So, you know, I don't think anything's lacking. It's just it's a sense of where a particular artist would want to see their end destination, so to speak. Do you want to live in LA and write crap pop music for people in the movies or whatever? You know, whatever anybody wants to do, they can do. You know, and I think India's big enough to look after its own. Maybe that's if there's one thing that as a country it should then push. I mean, Bollywood movies now. Let's have a look worldwide now. More and more people are paying attention to what's happening in Bollywood movies.
Do you watch any Bollywood movies?
I see one or two that come across on Netflix. Flick it on because I know this. I know the cinematography is going to be off the chain, but I'm always interested how corny the storylines will be, you know. And of course, I'm not a fan of the masculinity in those movies, and of course, you know, for me that kind of went out in the 50s, hitting a woman.
It's changing. It's definitely changing. The last couple of years,
no doubt, it has to.
Of course, it is.
It has to.
I will give you a couple of recommendations. You should definitely go and check. Okay. Of course, I will. All right. So tell us about your journey. How's it been for the last 15, 20 years? If you could just sum it up for us and tell us what has been your learning. Tell us about something that you should definitely give out to the entire world. What's worked for you?
Fix up. We're all one. We're all the same. We're all struggling in life. We all like music. Might not be the same kind of music that you like, but we're all the same. So give each other a break. Start being a little bit nicer. You know, don't get mad at people so easy without even, you know, if you don't know that person, how can you be angry at them? Until you sit down and start talking with that person, you don't know them, so don't judge them. That's what I've finally decided that needs to be said.
And I'm just looking at what Stretch has just given me. He's giving me a nice, what is this thing called?
That's Alwyn's. That was Alwyn's. He comes up with crazy
spread love,
crazy ideas for merchandise. And these turned up from, I think from Singapore. They came from Singapore.
Okay.
I had no idea they were coming. They turned up. I had to pay €50 at the door. I was like, what's this? Oh, this must be from the Crazy Cat Alwyn. And sure enough, there they were. That's a phone holder.
Okay.
So that holds your phone there.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
It's very handy.
All right. So you've been there in the scene for a long time. You've been with the biggest of the biggest. There's some interesting story of some artists that you've come across, or some backstage story that probably the world would never know if you don't get access to the backstage, and only you have, and probably you're on the biggest backstage ever. There's some really funny incident.
I can't really tell you any.
Pretty sure they're not listening yet. The podcast isn't so big. So you can obviously say it.
Maybe if we had a few beers inside of me, we'd be all right. But no, I mean, you know, it's ongoing. You know, it's funny because I've been trying to write books since about 2011. And just all these mad things keep continuing, you know, and the parties keep getting bigger, being asked to go to different places in the world. And well, there was one incident in China.
Okay.
Right. It was the first time in China. And I was hosting, and I don't speak Mandarin. And
of course.
Dimitri Vegas and Light Mike. It spread over 2 days. And Dimitri and Vegas and Light Mike were supposed to headline the first day, but there was a storm at one of the other airports, and they couldn't leave to get to us in time, so they were coming tomorrow. So fortunately, I'd met a guy in Thailand who is from Taiwan, who's originally Canadian, that speaks Mandarin. His name's Dallas Waldo. He's a bad boy rapper from Taiwan. He raps in Mandarin, right?
Okay.
Yeah, dope. And actually, you can find some, if you're listening, go and find Stinky Tofu. He's got an EP. I did an opening line for him in one of the tracks.
Of course, I'll send the link in.
Yeah, and then he fortunately was with me. So I said, listen, bruv, I need to make an announcement to let the people know that Dimmy and Micah are not coming, and they're not going to understand what I'm trying to say.
Of course. So
he's like, yeah, cool, no, bro, no problem. I said, well, just you repeat what I say.
Okay.
So he's like, oh, okay, we'll do that. So I had to go up on stage and say to these people. So I just did the one line. It's like, brothers and sisters, unfortunately, we got some bad news. Dallas did the thing. So it was quite funny because as I was saying it, he obviously then said the line, and then you could hear the reactions.
Okay.
On his line, not for mine.
Yeah, of course.
So it was like, and then in saying all of that, I kind of just went, and well, shit happens. And then he was like, well, shit happens. So shit happens means the same in Chinese.
That was great.
I got away with that one. Thanks to Dallas, yeah. I've got some good people around me in the world.
So you mentioned Dimitri Vegas and Like Mike. These guys are like power. So do you guys plan? What are you guys going to do in terms of the crowd control? It just happens randomly.
They do that. They do that. And I've known Dimmy and Mike a long time, seen the boys grow up. But yeah, no, they lock off place, mate. They know what they're doing. I think this show's pretty consistent. Mm-hmm. There's nothing really out of the ordinary there. Now, what you see is what you get. And they keep smashing it. So good luck to the boys.
All right, Stretch. I think that's about it. We've spent a lot of time. You have a nice flight to catch.
Thank you very much, sir.
Hopefully we will be seeing you more often in India.
Fingers crossed.
Probably DJing more often.
Tips. I've got tips. If anyone in India is listening, I've got a business visa now for the year, so I can have multiple entries.
Shout out to everyone who's listening, who wants Stretch.
Hit Rowan up. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for doing this. Means a lot to me.
You're more than welcome, sir.
I will see you soon. Cheers.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thanks
Cheers.
a lot. And that was the episode, guys. Thanks for tuning into the BrkThru podcast. I'm getting mad love from all of you guys from the fraternity. Continue sharing, but definitely consider subscribing, following, liking, doing all that good stuff. This definitely helps me a lot.